tonight. Danielle LaFrance from Vancouver, BC. Ted Rees, who lived in the Bay for a very long time and is now in Philadelphia. These two poets have not read here for a very long time, actually. Danielle, I think, back in 2017, at a series that Kevin Killian ran at Alley Cat, which is now Medicine for Nightmares. I remember that very fondly. It's great to have you back. Ted, when was the last time you were here?
My book released in 2018.
18, yeah. We'll also be seeing 5 short films by Kurt McDowell. Yes. Kurt moved to San Francisco in the late 60s from Indiana and went to SFAI, met George Kuchara there, became friends and collaborators with him. No? Oh, I thought Seth was shaking his head. And made incredible films and art. Thanks to Margaret Tedesco, I was introduced to Melinda, Kurt's sister and collaborator and actress in several of his films and in some of George's. We're very lucky to have her here. She also has not made an appearance, a public appearance in many, many years. And so it's great to have you here. It's been a total pleasure to get to know you over this time and to talk with you leading up to this event. So we're all very lucky to have her here, and she'll be saying a few words in a moment. I would like to thank Kenyon Cinema. Seth Mitter will be up in just a moment to talk a bit, but Kenyon is co-presenting this film, this program. And the films are coming from them. They're 16mm. Thanks to Linda Scobie for projecting. It's going to be a just really special program. I personally am a lover of both film and poetry, so having these together side by side is really a treat for me. And I hope for everyone else. We also have books in the back. The poets' books are for sale. I suggest and recommend you buy them. And we have programs up there which will indicate their order of the film program. The bios for the readers are on the back of the program, so I will not be reading them at you. But I recommend you look into all of the other works other than what we hear tonight. I think that's it. We'll be watching the first 4 of Kurt's films after Seth and Melinda speak for a moment, and then Danielle will read, and then Ted will read, and we will conclude with the musical Wieners and Buns. Thank you all for that.
The amount of aboutness I will offer is that in September 2016, I came across a garbage dump, and there was the tag on this red dumpster, post dildo. And it was nowhere else in the city, and it hailed me. And I was thinking, what is pre-dildo, what is dildo, what is post-dildo? I got really stuck in my head around that kind of 1980s nostalgia for postmodernism, post-feminism, post-colonial. So this is my response to trash. And I'm doing a bit of a whirlwind tour this week. Last night I was in Calgary, and I read, the poems that I selected last night, anytime the word bear showed up, that's what I read. And so tonight the word is porn. Unfuckable app. You plus I met on an intranet. Chemical pursuits considered too much. You plus I alongside suicidal Tinder technicalities. You plus I entered into a problem considered too crazy on an intranet. Perhaps after all this time, you would be interested in a gathering of dildos. Made of silicone, selling fortunes, validating meters. Perhaps even this unfuckable application would do whatever you want. I am good for it while skunk drunk on sherry, suffering to educate, a long splintered handle. Tits flash incoherence. Exposure is not honesty, it's not even truth. Just a smear evading problem, no longer locatable on an intranet. Head fist, a diabolical venture where every you plus I a chud, plus every I a bitch. Tonguing definitions of an erotic in hopes to remember in a name of the Lord. For her, the erotic is defined as a deepest feeling within ourselves. For you plus I, pornography isn't bound by a sensation that dismisses feelings. You plus I believe there is a pornography out there that is bound to sensation, reverentially feeling. You plus I just haven't witnessed it yet. But you plus I are so very certain that after a gangbang, Owen Gray would tenderly loofah while yodeling an alphabet backwards from a U-shaped scar on his chest. Now I feel my ABCs. Next time, won't you go for me? Of course, spongy, handheld scrubbers meant to exfoliate, plus lather suds are a perfect home for bacteria. Gotta rethink the shower routine. Flush, sado, sexual validity. Flush any fantasy painful enough to post it. A technique is a way. A strategy is a plan. An approach is a perspective, a method is a system. Before breakfast, believe in every impossible thing is possible. For example, this unfuckable app, fist oof, plus oof with consensual non-consent. Some prefer to avoid confrontations, others will pull a trigger. Restful heartbeats, be more precise, be a mistake, draw a line in sand with a spit, shine dildo. You plus I may very well be completely wrong. Is there enough reason behind looseness? If the apex of our production is genius, then commit to an idea, but don't marry it. Take responsibility for an idea, but don't own it. Prioritize an idea, but don't narcissist it. An idea is doomed from a start if you already know an outcome. Not only am I not an expert, it is not even known. I like it. In 2017, I wrote a proposal to get some money to make this book, but also put on a reading group called the Post-Dildo Reading Group, and there was a Post-Dildo Reading Series, which Ted read at, Ted read at, yeah, that works. So this poem is some lines from the proposal. Proposal for Post-Dildo. Annie sprinkles sniffing lavender sprigs while inhaling a garbage tag, while treading on post-therapy, while filing up Claire Fontaine's dishwater to a brim with dirtier than thou dildos. While a revolution starts at home, while Nancy Friday fantasizes, because doesn't everyone? While Catherine Millet fucks robotically, while Cozy Fanny Tudy shapes up to compensate, while fantasy fodder includes organ-numbing pornography, plus heart-throbbing dummies, while Anne Carson's heretic form offers a blueprint to discard from a start, while a variety of sexual preferences plus behaviors are so easy to explore. While you plus I share enthusiastic, while inadequately touching a preoccupation with prefixes. While Lacan surmises how no sexual liaison is complete without a third element, an ideological intruder, while auto-corrected as introducer, while dying with a possibility of life, while not lending to a conversation that hasn't been said before. while safeguarded by an authoritative voice an essay speaks, while bearing labor to rectify ills of man, while masquerading and opening, while there are scatological references throughout. While radical feminists finger feel their fantasies, while you plus I propose a type of talking where a tidal wave meets another tidal wave, while intent is sci-fi by design. While an end of capitalism is coming, an end of capitalism is coming. Lesson plans for post-dildo. After I hoe you on an intranet, I rebuff time no differently than any other time. Post-mockery extravaganza. In recent years, you plus I focus on posting ceaseless folds plus extensions. Dressing plus disrobing temporalities, time-tricking agency, states possessed by idle measures, post-aftermath prefix meaning aftermath caresses any concept, any root, periodizes a render, as many coats as licks it takes to center left. I guess around sunset, you plus I tether post to emergent situations. Temporarily eye-lined gazes fix feminism, modernism, capitalism, colonialism. Post really wants to move, but you plus I are durable, ushering in a same with different hues. What came before post is a linguistic signal of how you plus I access a past through a common cultural perception of a past. Post arranges submission to both before plus after I old plus fried. Post caresses you plus I historicizes a manageable shape that encodes concepts plus revolutions. What came before post-dildo if not internet porn, a confessional booth, settler sexuality, all providing an inadequate blueprint for how to fuck a lab coat? Let you plus I post lessons that guide you plus I through a movement caused by accidental folly. Sexual health with D, for a pal back home. This isn't real. That can't feel good. This time, suicidal sexual agents trick public relations face right a fuck off so as to pervert a quality that is not real plus can't feel good. Without a public relations face-on, all relatable stories are deluged by those needing a real good listen or conjoined nip slip. This time, envision a terrifyingly terrific intermingling of bodies, marginalizing them shelves in a library. This time, a new sexual regime edits enlightenment outright. In these here back channels of coded signifiers, all the fun happens in a backlog. Albeit, no matter how frequently a backlog is whitewashed, it still smells like shit. This time, a new sexual regime burns it down. Each new entry is a most pleasurable stacking, body on body paragraphs attempting to make these cases make senses ferment. A thorough copy edit pervades a cultural plus intellectual origin of modern colonialism. Sentences are given right of sovereignty to exercise absconded forms, language bowels to elitism. This is not art, that is pornography. Books stretch, plus hide partitions, what can and can't be fun. This is real, this can feel good. Make up words like prick up shits, not disturbing anything but law's order. Early in the morning, a rain lets down. There goes the aesthetics of domination, neighborhood, and understanding. Here goes all those public relations. This is real, this can feel really fucking good. Going postal. If I were a dildo, you would come with a global warning. Over 50 people had a sick dick. When you plus I dial up a connection, hook up over age, sex, location. When you plus I line wired pornography lined with precaution, chill viruses, romantic love in public, because going postal is personal, because going political is not waking up, plus not putting one face forward, but plus, plus, plus. At any rate, you plus I are gravely ill at opposite ends, banging pots plus pans to signal care. Seasonal symbolism emerges to mock pathos at a midpoint between ends. With age, you plus I became like a battlefield in which there was no battle. Most kids know these references more than you plus I. With age, sex, location, what ceases to be attractive to you plus I is on occasion a job well done. I'm also very tickled by the music that's going on in the background. I'm going to read a couple more. This one is for Ted. It only seems fitting that I read this one for Ted. It's called In Sluts You Thrust. If I were a dildo, you would finish lathering an adultery serpent beating off millennial spunk, like a 12-step program, but rather ready to God, remove all these defects of character. In sluts, you plus I thrust. You are everything I want to hire. Unfortunately, jobs are at work. Like a Deleuzian concept, but rather a name referring to a thought, a body judging whether life worths it. What makes a body flourish, let alone a life it curses? Apologies, apologize for apologizing. Order a double excessive drink of disinfectant. You plus I, caution without precedent. Why is history not a remedy when nothing even matters? Like Lauryn Hill, but rather a tendency to look at you religiously. I cheat mind eyes agnostically. In a control society, there is no longer a vantage point by which to sense it all, but a slither by which to rape it all. Old school bisexuals plant freshly purchased sage in billions of morsels of shit scraping seashells. Deeper shit, settler resentment has many fingers first, then a third to scrape away any remaining fortunes. Is this polished turd hard enough yet? Hard enough to bulge? Blood vessels, conspicuous repetition is so beautiful. Tomorrow will be better than today, because everything goes. Plus comes all over again to a cockatrice's bare vowel eye. And this last one, I was wondering if you'd all humor me and sing with me.
Yeah.
The poem's called A Baegean Ode. So you'll probably get the tune. It's my own lyrics that I've written here. So I will point to you when you can join. If ever you got cum in a bag, someone has turned you, plus blown you apart. Am I unwise to open up these thighs to fuck I? And let it be like they said it would be. I fucking you, babe, and you fucking I. Am I unwise to open up these thighs to fuck I? So this is where you have to join in. So it's come on I, whenever you want to. Come on I, if you need full frontal. I'll play dead as long as you want I. So darling, you come on I. And when breaking the mold, no one to come on and no one to bone. Am I unwise to open up these thighs to fuck I? And when you've got nothing to bruise, nothing to pay for, and nothing to choose. Am I unwise to open up these thighs to fuck I? Come on, I, whenever you want to. Come on, I, when you need full frontal. I'll play dead as long as you want. I, so darling, you come on, I. Thank you.
Wow, not expecting that. Sorry, I'm doing some costume changes. So, so nice to see so many friends here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Probably gonna read for a little bit longer than Danielle did. I hope that's okay. But thanks, Sid, for having me. Thanks to Kanye and Cinema. Thank you, Melinda, for speaking. And yeah, I'm just gonna read from this manuscript. It's all over the place, but it has a through line that you'll get pretty quickly. So, everything becomes rearranged. Words like stage and some numerals are immovable traps when the hum is your weathered companion. Beeping machines, elevators, small and large whooshes of fluid, droplets, car tires, losing air, organ being restored, pounding of magnetic imaging cylinders, turning inside and next to each other around your hips, chest, shaved remnants floating in tub, heat of laser smooth along crown, fingers slipping through pages and pages of books, fans blowing idiotically, blowing him and loosing poison on sheets, a tendency in your elbow, a way of keeping it down in the shower, mask pumping over face. We don't stop till the screaming starts. You dig the hum. That's the hum. Lips at the end of a paper towel roll blowing softly in your ear. Each moment, we begin and end in holes. Complexities of the mother's arrival. Convalescent scenes from the thorax, calmly debating the purpose of its own empire. There on the slab, curing for weeks. Ribs expand as you position a string in your mind, connecting the dots in the ceiling with the tat above your dick, leaking urethra song about rainbows elsewhere. Lacrimose parking lot. Your neck stiffened, foam greasy at ear. He keeps asking you questions, closing your eyes. You see his fire escape hair, slicked back in sudden rise and register, hand on your ass, kiss or something like it. Kiss out of you, out of my interruption and services. A remembrance for your new void, less shallow perhaps than the one you describe here, subject lethargic and confused, and wanting to be filled, a proper tube again and again told to jump higher, gravel unfolding in teeth, unable to really suss the remaining unsevered nerve complex. Ain't that a shame if you can't dance too? Oh no! Came off a little bit too much. Yeah. The evening After they discovered the tumor growing inside me, I found myself sitting in my small home office, completing the last bits of the semester's grading. Seemingly out of the ether, the lyrics of a song came to me. And I know it, I can't see it, but I know it enough to believe it. I put my pen down, rested my head against the window next to my desk, and closed my eyes. From where did Hole's Jennifer's Body arrive? Why this song now? My thoughts were plangent, and as the melody and lyrics continued to run through me, I was transported to the smazy memory of my younger self, staring out a car window at a yellowing beach town, mouthing the words, sleeping with my enemy, myself. It was in the spring of 1995 that my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 invasive epithelial ovarian cancer, and it was late in the summer of that year that I was taken on vacation by my friend Dee's parents. I don't remember much about the vacation itself. A snapshot of body surfing, a faint recollection of falling asleep at a late-night screening of Waterworld. But I do recall the car ride from Philadelphia, particularly the music piping through the cheap headphones. Holes Live Through This, Rancid's Let's Go, a sample CD from College Music Journal, featuring songs by Teenage Fan Club and the Circle Jerks. That fascinated me. The interstate became clogged and dusty, too late, and as I sat in my office, I could recall the intermittent views of a wave rolling toward shore, interrupted by rows of stilted, clapboard vacation homes, all while Courtney Love wailed, "Make me real, fuck you." It was a rasping demand that I appreciated then. My mother spent most of her time in bed or on the couch, gray and vomiting and suddenly hyper-religious, while my father worked in the day and spent sleepless nights caring for her. His parents lived with us for a while. Besides games of Scrabble and gin rummy, we all found few ways to bridge the gaps between us. I had friends, of course, and their well-meaning parents who carted us around to various activities or allowed us free rein to run around, but none of it really mattered to me. It all seemed like a prefab distraction to which I was supposed to resign myself. Because I couldn't shake the feeling that it was a well-meaning ruse, I also couldn't slough the inkling that there was something deeply wrong with me, that I was an unreal target of an immense plot. What primal kinetics smeared the occasion but the rank fever that is the fear of venom, uncertain species at any hour, or to say, we praise the box you've made, vague tint in your eyes, a sort of unspeakable violence or corner of a room, greasy, dust, a glue that's hard to get off. Shoesies pinching in the lot's long path to narthex, a slur you threw at me, put out of my mind. Righteous fresh scab each hour, 3 decades after. I cannot help but arrange hurt and quit myself then. In wound, I recognize how these mean gurgles swap in and out, but their front resents their asses. You understand how language adheres or doesn't. Tell me more. Held unlit tween teeth, baby fluffing over in all flesh, big baby boy. Your mama in the mind's pew, big fluff, more like my own heat, merely touching stomach in the cold, where I descended, unrecalled but around this time, puffing in the woods next the tracks, eyes on each syllable his lips formed, and so high, as high goes, like chasing is natural, we're never to return. Rent as I could be, or on my knees with my legs tucked, breaking the law. In the magazines, we'd a heap of hours shirking each other out of existence, pale. You misunderstood the pale boy's pout, and I never forgave you. Your healing, your only dread, my fingers limbing his. With certainty, he closed me, cool milk, his face poured onto my shoulder, and pours like this poem I've written before, never mentioned, the movie we saw. Tomorrow never dies. The distance between insanity and genius, or something less more likely. We basic pose, It's a bad pose. I don't know yoga. We basic pose. This is a true story. These are all about my mom. We basic pose, smoking in the kitchen, evading the melt our illusions burden themselves with until puddled. The very image of health at rest there, at our feet. Not as clear as I'd like, so we live through tubes we maneuver, pumping to the terminal, and rearranged tubes, emergent holes like years, washed like little tubes down the throat, impervious to language even now. The click of all that brightness that you remember also, grace of touching what comes after without being pulled in, still wanting out and out, my hands and hooves, tingling in the flesh I inform about an extended warranty. This is the big one. Cryable shoreline, a harness like a bad merge, gritty tongue lesson cracking the spine post-sexing. All bells depend on their plunge. I'm there. Bless me. Bless my gowns. Dummy naked mind bayou. My first name's echolocation shimmer there, a sort of stew, tight on linoleum. We pressed in as a daydream flew fancy down the sides, yours mingling with toxins, sporting sunglasses, eruptive and bright. A good curse. We made the river I thought we made. Knees grind glass. I love this lament. You in it too. Tallowed, therefore, face underwater, rubbing my crevice with sentences as thin as I am, disloyal to those dunes' present crackle. Not at all. Zilch as formal distillate despite a run on parts. Our peninsulas where we wake, cinch, more, then more. Lights hung and I leaned into the spine we fused or are fusing for a new release in the next decade. Freaky, but Dougie's, just like I like it. Petted as valid, surprise hairless. Fed me blast sight when the storm was always already, meaning despicable. Interrogatives abound, but you can't see. And there my stream goes, toodles. Collapsed into divan as long as the silk moth flutters in scattered switchbacks. Abandon your camp. This brings good fortune. I spoke funny, and you spoke funny too, inert in our tonguing the next 5 years. Rather escarole wilting in the hoop, target como skin on skin dynamited. Monday, and the river rolls. Your socks on my mind. Sheets. You turned me around, then the shutter. That such a shade called fresh lawn were nimble in my inferno. Baked in cream genre limitations we sour on like press-on floors. Big dearth in whir, my pelvis nicely framed. Tardy is the word most vivid in marbles, but it was all over. I went skipping into the piercing. Force-fed. Force-fed. We laid about festive meats, branded at undercarriage. Proper tunnel like we needed a good choke. Kokomo in my thoughts. Dear Kevin, 7 days after your physical body left us, Theo and I sat down to watch Un couteau dans le cœur, the 2018 film about a murderer killing a gay porn studio's models in late 1970s Paris. I've been watching Argento and Bava films while rereading your Argento series, and the reviews made Un couteau seem like it might be a successor to Jolly. Plus it was queer and starred some gorgeous actors, so win-win, right? I thought it might cheer me some, since your absence had been palpable all week, my spirit bereft. The film transported me back to the period when we first became close, when I was your student and you, my mentor. At the time, I spent most of my hours outside of reading and writing on a search for other young men to sleep with. I wrote about San Francisco and my dreams, about webcam videos and capitalism, about the itinerant life I found myself dwelling within, and you pushed and encouraged me always. You saw something in me that I had trouble seeing inside of myself, really, as I hopped from bed to bed. We crushed on each other, but our affection was based in intellectual and social affinities, mostly. It continued this way for years, even after I moved away. You made me feel worthwhile and loved, unlike any person I've known. The film ended with the murder victims and their loved ones alive, caressing and smiling at each other in a room resplendent with white. Your lover, Arthur Russell, once sang, "I want to see all my friends at once," and the finale seemed in that spirit. I wept and laughed, thinking of you now in a similar room with so many of your friends, how lucky they are, and how lucky we were to have been with you here on earth. Love always, Ted. Love always, I never let this happen. I do not feel sorry for anyone but myself. I had always dreamed I would be the first person to become a true love, but never, ever again. I thought I would be the first man to come out of the world. I thought I would be the first human being. I was so lucky in this life that I love to have my own voice in my mind. Like crinkled aluminum foil, a piece of paper, or a piece of plastic. A piece of paper with a hole in it. A piece of paper with a hole in it. A piece of paper with a hole in it. A piece of paper with a hole in it. Appetite loss. Gastrointestinal problems, including upset stomach and constipation. Fatigue, weakness, headaches, changes in taste, hair loss, abdominal aches, methroidism, sugar, unions, shorts, eating in a bowl of water, eating a steak, eating a banana, eating a pizza, eating a carrot, eating a steak, eating a banana, eating a chicken, eating a fruitcake, eating a banana, eating a chicken, eating a cucumber, eating a strawberry, eating a tomato, eating a strawberry, eating a tomato, eating a strawberry, eating a fruitcake, eating a strawberry, eating a strawberry, eating a strawberry. The wall in front of a wall. And I couldn't get the doors open. But I knew I had to make it open the way the whole place is. I felt the way a stone has to be made to open a wall. This is what I wanted to do, and I didn't know how. Pause. Here's an exercise. Can you remember the first orgasm you experienced to music? See someone smiling. Some people are smiling. I knew nothing about Behead the Prophet when at 12 years old I picked up the group's CD at Repo Records in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. I'd spent the previous 2 years dwelling in a truncated grief, as I not only come to the conclusion that I was queer, but also had a mother who had been crawling the shores of mortality with, once again, stage 4 invasive epithelial cancer of the ovaries. Though she had emerged from her illness and was in remission, the impossibility of her ever truly emerging was laid bare by a newfound religiosity, which confronted my burgeoning sexuality in any number of predictable and unpredictable ways. As the cruel banality of the imagination would assume, my hints at my sexuality were treated as my obsession with punk rock and hardcore was treated. As part of an early teenage rebellious phase, it would pass. But in my bedroom, I was voracious. I read magazines like Profane Existence and The Defenestrator and Heart Attack, with capitals on the H and the C, starting for hardcore. From front to back, steeping my consciousness in the weird brew of DIY punk and radical politics. I listen to records over and over again by groups like Behead the Prophet, Capitalist Casualties, Submission Hold, Kill the Man Who Questions. And as is typical for a 12-year-old, I masturbated with an astonishing frequency in a vast array of positions and situations. Yet the first time I remember the music that was playing when I achieved orgasm, the scene itself was rather staid, normal. I was lying in bed, nude, walls surrounding me covered in a claustrophobic density of posters, left index finger up my asshole, stroking furiously, and Behead the Prophet's In the Garden was playing on my CD boombox. And then, there it was. A splash on the sun, air, moon, and soil in the garden of incendiaries. The lyrics positing my young queer body as an explosive device. Generating and arounding. As if he packed my memory into dankest swell, look at my spirit wagging its ass on Turk. Perpetual skinny and threadbare strings of saliva, hardened as nature foams and squalid portions bear hiss of sun warping cassette. I remember we sang some meat market song, unbuttoned in elevator his lips, laughing in his twin bed, my fullest range, his name, and the fire escape. Munch Munch said. Kept swallowing glitter, that skeleton shadow raunch festooned under Lemois. We knew our stank bloomed like insects violining, and to never return was utmost right there. Yes, locale that loves punch. And I worked him into a nimbus, wiggling in tight waitress slacks. You felt that wink? Walk down the street like a motherfucker. One of my meats against the wall demands your palm reach there and hold the glass of soju in cold, sweet evening. I wept to spite my drowning tub I made for our skins. In my mind, I'm going to burn utopias, then wipe you, incorrect, pick what you dried on mine prominent cheekbone. See you in jade morning slick at mirror, that contour rummaged pinks in me I'd merely read of, thrown onto the rug like happy baby, licked the tar, pressed lit cig to crown, then gulped, then called a morphine like I never walked the same again. Eluctable recipe. A delight I've addressed previously, shirt rolled to my sternum's inelastic density, sparring braces now winged on tile, gentle, like a cake he's thinking toward, and in quivering arched back, allowing to be baked in me. Much in my character, wanting heat and moving too close like a caveman. I need to feel so often the sad fact of ecstasy's diminishing returns, even as I scoop my pinky and then place it on my tongues, as if I were a violent man instead of what's born yet leaking down my hocks. The condominium development built on my semen. The sort of sex shop you wince at going in, if even to walk the stairs with a camera, squeezing trigger, thigh back, okay. Bleak palindrome where the eastern light leak in this rubber room or series of my throat wrapped around and dripping, capturing it dripping. All loose like spray, thumb circling bullock boy, me with a cherry in cheek, the linger I imagine being consumed without feeding, but I'm lost. Pulsing my hands on his hips, how loose, I may say. How loose. Thus I plunged. Enunciate, articulate, or never speak. I know it's false, but please graft here to ride. Please hear and tighten his tit in my fist, fluorescent light and then like water. The chicken place. Stern and sick on the landing, goodbye. Though hair acrid follicle tastes the third molar inhabited with you. My absence slips this way as you puff on my pouty boy lips, just attached to my face like earlier, finishing my eggs easy as I exit and enter and grab the ashtray. Repeat. This is about the night me and my husband met. He was at a boundinpublickink.com shoot at Truck, which is a gay bar that doesn't exist anymore on Folsom Street. It wasn't a date we were on. The guy's face recalled eggplant parm, oozing his cheeks, eyes and ears and mouth and nose. I had forgotten yours, but the club was a cave, soiled in that way, leaning in soil so deftly, skin daring my sense, a running jump off the bridge, or at least suckle, jugular news from you, fingers inside my shorts had gained. Young in an old man's tent, your righteous need to smoke after I reassembled the leopard down your hip and thigh. I never could wait to rip it off, and thus how I knew your season. To speak on the concourse of April, which is an attempt to fill every cup and every face I made for you, make for you what you can't see, what your slug pressing my rose causes us, filaments in growing bulb. This last one is called Gute Laune. God, what's the name? Anyway, there's this famous techno DJ, and he always screams "Gute Laune" in the middle of his sets, and it's very funny. Anyway, that's why it's called that. Centered, that is, in repetition of my neck, bowed to crease into your visage somewhere between deaths, aloft and slightly dumb, watching me like the glove I am, thwacking your belly at a Balearic beat. No sight of land, our song of praise. Thank you.